Since you guys loved my PlayStation 3 collection video, I thought I'd dig back into the relics of my past and bring to you guys my Sony PlayStation Portable game collection. Now, I only have about 18 games here, but we're going to dive into them because I haven't collected for the PSP in a while. I feel like my collection has everything that I want in it, and the PSP in itself is still a system that's very, very near and dear to my heart. Now, I have the original launch model here in North America that came out on my birthday actually back in 2005. The PlayStation Portable was very ambitious when it first came out because not only did it have built-in Wi-Fi, not only could you put expandable memory in here in the forms of the memory stick duos, but instead of coming on game packs or cartridges like Nintendo and other systems like the Neo Geo Pocket and the Sega Game Gear had done in the past, Sony was very ambitious because they put their games on little UMD discs. Now, these discs could hold a lot more space. The only downside I found with them was they were kind of easily scratchable, which was hard to believe because they basically came in a case. They also didn't really work well with load times for certain games, and we'll get into that. Now, things I love about the PSP was it was basically an all-in-one system for the time. The graphics were great for what it was in 2005, but you could watch movies on here, browse the web, listen to music, play your games, look at photos, look at RSS feeds. It was kind of your all-in-one system that was so different than everything we had seen at the time with the Game Boy, the DS, and I think Sony really hit it out of the ballpark. Now, over the years, this system did change, whether you had the 2000 series, this is a 1000 series, one of the originals, or like the PSP Go, and things kind of cheapened out over time for cost-cutting measures. Now, I still think this original model is just such a sturdy system. But, you know, let's get into the games, because that's what you guys want to see. Now, the first game we're going to bring out, because I just kind of lined these up, and they're in no particular order, we're going to talk about The Sims 2. Now, The Sims 2 for the PSP was weird for me, because I was a Sims fan when I was a kid, and don't mind how dirty these cases are. These have been on my bookshelf for a long time. It was a game that was basically, I felt like more like the story mode of The Sims, and it wasn't actually like a Sims like sandbox. It was interesting, it was different. Some people might like it, I really didn't. Another game that I have is NBA Ballers Rebound. Now, NBA Ballers was basically a continuation of like the NBA Street series, even though that I believe was made by EA, but it was kind of the same concept. It was like a non-traditional basketball court game. It was played like outside. This game was really fun. It was really arcadey. I loved it. It would probably be a spiritual successor to what NBA Jam kind of was, in the sense because Midway made both of them. Now, one of the things I want to mention that I have here are two of the movie and music discs that came out on here. Now, Sony tried to make this super popular. It really didn't catch on because people predominantly use their PSP for gaming. But they released UMD-specific videos and music that even in the Universal Media Bar, the UMB, would show up under their specific areas. Now, the first we're going to mention is The Undertaker, History of the Undertaker. This was a wrestling-themed thing that had 4 of The Undertaker's matches. It kind of showcased, you know, some of the greatest matches of The Undertaker up until that time. It was very interesting. I like the ambitious. And then I also have Tupac's Live at the House of Blues. Now, this was basically just a full-length concert with videos and all that of the concert. It was cool. It was different. I guess they wanted to make this like a mini DVD kind of player at the same time. Now, speaking of gangstiness, we are going to talk about Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories coming up next. Now, Liberty City Stories was awesome, right? Because it was your first traditional portable Grand Theft Auto game from the modern era times that played like a GTA game. This was kind of like GTA 3, shrunk down portably. It wasn't a top over the head like view like the original GTAs. It was a full-fledged Grand Theft Auto game on the go, and they ended up porting this over to the PlayStation 2 later on because of the popularity. One game that I have that I don't think gets enough love, and it didn't in the reviews either, was Coded Arms. Now, Coded Arms was interesting to me because it was a first-person shooter, kind of along the lines of, I want to say, looking at it, it was almost like a Doom in the sense where there was a lot of monsters, but it was kind of futuristic. It was definitely interesting playing it on the PSP. I loved it when I first got it, but I know a lot of review sites weren't really big fans. I think this got a sequel, which I don't own, but I definitely think it's worth checking out. Now, speaking of series that got brought over to the PlayStation Portable, Burnout, Dominator. Now, I loved the Burnout series during this generation of video games. Burnout was such an arcadey game where you could just crash into people, make cars like go off the road, flip all over the place, get points for it. So when this came to the PlayStation Portable, and the graphics for this were fantastic at the time, I had to get it. Now, during the time of the PlayStation Portable's launch, I was still a big fan of playing and watching baseball, and one of my first games I got for the PSP was MLB. Now, Sony has always been known for their MLB games, especially with MLB The Show now, and this was actually still made under 989 Sports, which I don't think is still a studio, but this game was great for a handheld on-the-go baseball game, and I remember having a whole lot of fun with this when I first got it. Now we're going to go back to the UMD videos. I think this is the last one I have, and it's Hellboy. I'm not even a fan of this movie. I don't know why I bought this when I did back in the day, and I think it was because it was just cool to have a movie on the go, and these were always relatively cheaper than the games, so I think I might have been going on like vacation. I just wanted something to watch. But back to the GTA sides of things, and we're going to talk about its sequel, Vice City Stories. Now, Liberty City Stories took place in the world of Grand Theft Auto 3. Vice City Stories, as you can tell, took place in the world of Vice City. Now, this is another one. It was a full-fledged GTA game on the go that eventually got brought over to the PlayStation 2. Such a good game. Definitely one that's worth picking up, and I think this is actually the one, yep, that's in my PSP from when I went to Colombia a few years ago. I brought this with me. So, with that being said, one series that was big on the PlayStation 2 that got brought over to the PSP, and it was like its first big online game, was Socom, U.S. Navy SEALs Fireteam Bravo. I played the heck out of this game. This was also, I believe, the first game, if not the first major game, that allowed for voice chat over the PlayStation P Portable. PlayStation P. PSP. This had, like, the PSP had a headset that would plug into, like, the microphone slot, as well as, like, the auxiliary port that allowed for voice chat. And playing this on the PSP was so cool, just because there were so many people that I knew that played this, so we used to always play it. I still remember the weapon of choice I had in here was an M416A. Such a fun game. Was definitely worth playing. Now, another ported series that came over was the Fight Night series. EA doesn't make these anymore, but the Fight Night series was a boxing series. So, in the vein of that, I picked this up at a big game store in New York, actually, in Manhattan. And I remember playing this the whole ride while I was on vacation. We used to drive a lot for vacation when I was a kid. And this was a great, like, boxing simulating game. It wasn't really arcadey. It was trying to be more authentic. But Fight Night Round 3 was a fun game. Now, this is probably overall my favorite PSP game. And it's not even like a PSP exclusive, but I played the heck out of this for being the wrestling fan that I am. And this was Smackdown vs. Raw 2006. Now, this was the first Smackdown vs. Raw game that came over to the PSP, and this is a game that I mentioned where the loading times weren't specifically all that great, but for a game coming over from the PlayStation 2, basically, this was great. This had the entrance music, it had the full Smackdown experience on the go, and you could transfer data back and forth between the PS2 version and this version, and I believe you had like an unlockable character if you connected these two. I played, I think, more of this version of the game than the PlayStation 2 version, which was crazy because I owned both at the same time. But just having this on the go for like road trips, it was great. It was fantastic. I loved it. Now, one series that this game is actually still in shrink wrap because I never opened it. I got this at Walmart in its clearance bin, and you guys saw it already. It's Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. I know this is a fantastic Metal Gear Solid game from what I've heard from fans of it. I never wanted to open this because it was like the last shrink wrap PSP game that I came across. And if I ever want to play it, I do have it on my PlayStation 3 in the HD version. Peace Walker, to my knowledge, is your traditional Metal Gear Solid game. It didn't really cut any corners, and people love this game. Now, from ports from the PlayStation 1, this was another one of my first PSP games. It's Ape Escape on the Loose. Now, I have the original PlayStation 1 version of this game, but I never beat it. So to bring it to the PlayStation Portable was cool. To just kind of actually try to play it and beat it. This was like a 1-to-1 port of the PS1 game. And if you're a fan of Ape Escape, this is probably a game you should have in your collection. Now, the first Metal Gear Solid game traditionally to come to the PSP was Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops. Now, Portable Ops didn't really feel to me like a full-on PSP Metal Gear Solid game. It had the voiceovers, it had cinematics, but basically the purpose of this game was to like knock out enemy soldiers and abduct them so they join your ranks, and then you could use them, I believe, to deploy them to like other missions. There was an online version in here, but this game was fun, it was cool, it was different, it was very ambitious to finally bring Metal Gear Solid to the PSP, and for when it came out, I believe in 2006, it was great. Now my last two games, we're going to go to this one first, because I totally forgot I owned this game. NBA Live 07. Now, EA did bring over the NBA Live series to the PSP. And, you know, this was your, in vein of what NBA Ballers were, this was your traditional basketball game. This was full court, full NBA Live experience. If you're a fan of basketball games, you've probably played this in the past at some point, if you were a gamer at that point. I don't even know if EA still makes like traditional NBA Live every year, because I haven't ever really seen newer renditions of it, but these were fun when they came out. Now my last PSP game I'm going to show you is an enhanced remake of an NES game from one of my favorite series, and that is Mega Man Powered Up. Now this was interesting, this game, because it recreated Mega Man 1 for the NES. But it gave Mega Man, if you can see from the back, a very like cutesy art style. Instead of trying to make it like more traditional or like more modern. I realize my case is broken. I don't know when that happened. But this was cool because there were online leaderboards. There were, I think, custom-made levels you could play. And in itself, it was just super cool for this to come out. When it did, they also made a Mega Man X Powered Up, if that's what it was called. It was a remake of the first Mega Man X game, which I don't own. Maybe I will add that to the collection at some point. But this game was super fun if you love Mega Man. It was a traditional old school Mega Man game at the same time where they were working on, I think it was Mega Man 9 and 10. It kind of harpered back to get you ready for those games. So with that being said, those are the 18 games I have in my PSP collection. What games do you have in your collection? What games do you suggest I pick up for the ever so ambitious and powerful, at the time, PlayStation Portable? Like I said, this system still feels so premium today here in 2022. The screen wasn't the best, even compared to like the Vitas. It was a 480p screen, or was it 240p screen? But the games on it were fantastic, guys. I realize my collection isn't super huge. There were so many more games released for the PSP. But that's what I have currently. What do you guys think of my collection? What are games you think I should add? And what do you think of any of these games if you've played them? Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you like these collection videos? Should I continue them? As always, drop a subscribe, turn on notifications, share this video if you can, and I'll catch you later for another collections video or for whatever else I decide to put out. Until next time, see ya, bye.